Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. It's a Sunday morning, and once again, you're having breakfast with the boys. We're really glad you can join us this morning. We got a lot to cover this week. We had Shawn at the IIJL tournament. Remember IIJL, watching teams. Unsanctioned, but watching teams. That looked awesome, man. That looked amazing. Just to introduce the guys, I've got Shawn Slaght, who Moose Jaw?
No, I'm in Saskatoon still.
Saskatoon. Yeah. I got to put the note there at Saskatoon. Okay. Shawn's in Saskatoon this week, and I've got Muffler Mike down in Connecticut. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing good.
Great. Yeah, man, that looked awesome, that tournament, and the games and the players. We got an interview that you did with the Australian coach coming up later on, so that's going to be pretty cool. Yeah. Let's just get rid of some of the network stuff first, and then we'll get on to all the activities. Remember, though, the episodes are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, and you catch all the action on EOPsports.com. Remember to hit the subscribe, follow, and like buttons, and always share. As you can see, we got many shows going on, and you can enjoy all of our affiliates, the Broad Street Bully Podcast, Philly Press Box Radio, Edge of Philly Sports Live, Bird's Eye Q, Patterson Avenue Fanatics, Talking Philly Sports with Matty B, Devereaux Sports, Painted Lines, Party on Broad, and, of course, my favorite, Steel Steps on Friday night just after the SmackDown shows. If you missed a show, no worries. You can grab all the podcasts on all the major podcasting companies, which include Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, and Spotify. And if you're looking for any shows for the shows, you can go on to the EOP YouTube page, or if you're looking for our show in particular, you can go on to the All Lacrosse All the Time YouTube page, where you're also going to find interviews. You're going to find other clips, as well as full retro games that are starting to make their way up there as well. Remember, you can stay up to date with all Philly sports by visiting EOPsports.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. And while you're there, please subscribe to our newsletter. Let's just say that this the first part of our show is sponsored by Dolan's.
All right, guys, when you're staying local and you want to watch a great game or just hang out with some great people, make sure to go to Dolan's Bar at 24 East Sellers Avenue at Ridley Park. Right off of I-95, south of Philadelphia Airport, Dolan's Bar is the place to be. Great music, great times, memorabilia giveaways, great drinks, and even better food. You never know when a former Philly sports icon walks through the door. You've got to go to Dolan's, 24 East Sellers Ave at Ridley Park. Tell PJ that EOP sent you. Go to dolansbar.com or follow them on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or even TikTok. We'll see you there for the game.
Dolan's is your place to be. Have a beer with the boys as well. Eduardo has checked in with us. Literally having breakfast. Very good. Very good. And, of course, field correspondent coming in from Jacksonville at the moment. He does as much traveling as Shawn.
Yeah.
We're doing well. Thanks for jumping along with us. Well, guys, let's start off with the Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame inductions ceremony coming up next month. And some very familiar names on there. We have Whipper, Bob Watson, 2 Founder Cups, 1 Man Cup, Harry Lumley Award, 2000 and 2002, 6 NLL championships with the Toronto Rock, an NLL Hall of Fame 2011, and the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame 2021. Chugger, who just won an NLL championship as the GM of Buffalo, he has 2 Founders Cups, 2 Man Cups, 4 President's Cups, an NLL Championship Cup 1 and 1 as a GM now, NLL Hall of Fame 2012, and Waterloo Regional Hall of Fame 2016. Larry Lloyd, junior, senior, and pro combined 525 goals, 515 assists in 307 games. 4 Minto Cups, first All-Star team in 74, second All-Star team 75, played in the original NLL with the Philadelphia Wings. Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame 2015, Oshawa Sports Hall of Fame 2023. Another familiar name for everybody, Tracy Koleski. OLA Junior A, top 3 in scoring, 94, 95, 96, top defensive player in 96. 4-Man Cups with Peterborough, 06, 7, 10, and 12. NLL Championship Cups with Calgary, 2004 and 2009. All-Star Game MVP in 2005. Sportsmanship Award for the NLL in 2009, National Lacrosse League Hall of Fame 2016. Let's not forget the Forrest Mann Cups as a coach for the Peterborough Lakers as well. And lastly, William Hutton served as president for the OMLA, OLA, and CLA, chaired the 1986 World Field Championships, a key player in getting Bill C-212 implemented in 94, recognizing lacrosse as Canada's summer sport, CLA Lester B. Pearson Award 1981, OLA Mr. Lacrosse Award 1986, and Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame in 2003. It's a heck of a lineage just going into the Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame. Congratulations to everyone who's going. We got a little more news from another associate of ours. Troy Cordingley's daughter, Aurora, is taking on the assistant coaching job with North Carolina. Congratulations to her as well. All right. The IIJL tournament, Shawn.
Yeah.
Yes, the week that was and the week that you had there.
Yeah, it's busy. As you said, Gary, a fantastic tournament. All politics aside, it was a really, really great tournament. Congratulations to the United States for pulling off the win. You can really see programs now like U.S. Box really kind of coming to the forefront now and seeing a huge improvement in the box program in the United States. They picked up a 10-7 victory over Canada last night, actually, at SaskTel Center to pick up their very first ever IIJL World Junior Championship gold medal. Really, for me, though, I think the story of this tournament was Team Australia, or I shouldn't say Team Australia, but the Australian team. A lot of these teams that were at this tournament are like heritage teams where their players aren't necessarily hold, like, say, a Scottish passport or a Polish passport. They're usually Canadians or Americans who have some type of heritage or lineage towards that country. Australia, there are 19 on the roster. 16 of those players actually traveled from Australia to Saskatoon just to compete at this tournament. I talked to some parents, and they were saying some of these kids invested probably upwards to $10,000 just to play at this tournament. So, you know, with all the BS and all the politics, tell me that those Australians at this tournament meant nothing to them.
Absolutely. And we have a clip of your interview.
Yeah, I had a chance to catch up with their head coach, Wade Hammond, just to talk a little bit about them being at this tournament and the junior box program in Australia.
What does it mean for these kids from Australia to be at a tournament like this?
It means a lot. They put their school on hold, they put their work on hold, they put their hand in their pocket and get the money out, and they pay for the flights, and they pay for the gear, and they pay for the hotel. They are dedicated. So for them to come over and experience this, it means a lot to them.
Even with games like this against Canada, although the scores are a little bit lopsided, what can those players still take away from that?
We've had 4 days now of great improvements, and all we're looking for is to improve every single time. If we stop improving, then we're not doing our job. So now the improvements tonight are great. I mean, was it 30-7 or something? The score doesn't mean a whole lot when we play 20 of the best young Canadians in the world, right? Yeah. We've just got to keep on making those improvements. I think we're actually doing that. So it's good.
You guys had some exhibition games against the Saskatchewan SWAT before this. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that relationship you have with the SWAT?
Well, we only just started before we come over. We knew that there was a local team, and I gave Tyler a message and said, hey, if you're available, I know it's a long weekend, but would you be happy to give the boys a game? And he dragged some guys together, and that was the first step for these guys learning experience. And it was an old drink like that, to you guys it's old, but it was it would have been the best drink that these guys have played on. And now we step out here, and they're probably going to expect too much when they get home.
Can you talk a little bit about box lacrosse in Australia? Is this a sport that's starting to grow? Is it starting to come to the grassroots level?
Yeah, the field lacrosse is the main game out there. We've got a lot of guys pushing it inside, blokes like Rocket and Bleedy and Hawley is the assistant coach here in Victoria. Blokes like Ben Muxlow over there in Western Australia, and and like Anson Carter in South Australia, they're all just trying to get some teams out on the field and improve. So it's starting to get it's starting to be looking very attractive to the guys. It's a game where we can get a lot more physical, and our technical ability to handle passes inside and give off little dumps and shoot on a smaller cage is exactly what we need for our field game. So it's going to be good for every part of our game.
It's amazing. It's amazing everything that has to go through for them to do it, and it was terrific for Saskatchewan SWAT to give them a game and really make them feel at home there too.
Yeah, and the big thing out of this too is Australia won the 5th place game, which was huge for them and huge for the program. Like, you should have seen these kids celebrate after that game. You think they just won the gold medal?
Well, pretty much they did for themselves, right?
For them, that was a huge accomplishment.
Another big showing for the Israelis too. They had a huge showing as one. I think was it the bronze?
Yeah, they won the bronze over Scotland, and both those teams really had really great showings as well. I know
both of them are great. They've both been in the Rubeski tournament. I've watched both teams; they're very, very good. In fact, Scotland finished 3rd in the Rubeski tournament in this past April. So, yeah, they're both up and coming programs.
I mean, even in the opening game of this tournament, United States did beat Scotland, but it was 18-14. Like, they gave the eventual gold medal winning team a run for their money right off the bat.
For sure.
But I mean, as we brought off air, you kind of have that lingering question after the gold medal game of, would have this been a different outcome if Ontario players were allowed to play for Canada in this tournament?
You know what? There's so many teams that have come up and are just building their programs. I don't think it really matters, to tell you the truth.
No, and it doesn't, and it's still
program in its own right is exceptional.
And I had a chance to talk to Chris King, president and CEO of Canadian Lacrosse League and the IIJL, and that's the main thing about this is regardless of who's on that floor, he says it's about the exposure, right? And allowing these kids to get on the floor and play is bigger than anything else.
Absolutely. Oh, Eduardo also wanted me to let him know when we get to Orangeville, he needs to get something stronger. Oh, we'll get to that in a little bit, Eduardo. Don't worry, you can digest your breakfast first. But yeah, that was great, and it was great coverage. The articles were fantastic, and all the other things that you put together. So I really appreciate it. Thank you, Shawn, for doing all that for us and job. For the IIJL. Man, that was a fantastic thing. They shared a lot of Shawn's stuff, and it was succinct to the point, and it really gave a good optics for what this whole thing is all about. So
yeah, it was a lot of fun. And thanks to the CLL and IJLL for having us out and, like I said, sharing our stuff. And Chris, like I mentioned, I've been dealing with him for a few months now, just trying to get media credentials. He's been great the entire time.
That's fantastic. See, that's what we need. We need people who are listening and working with and all these other things. We have so many other stories where things get political and all the other things. It's refreshing to see that it's for the players, for the tournament, and we move on from there. Yep. Alrighty. We had some junior stuff that happened. I'm going to start out first with Rocky Mountain, Shawn.
All right, let me just pull up my stats here. Yeah, so I think when we last left off, it was tied 1-1 in the series between the Edmonton Miners and the Calgary Mounties for the RMLL Championship. Again, a lot of this doesn't really matter because Edmonton is hosting the Minto anyway, so they got an automatic entry regardless. So we head into Tuesday. The Miners took a 10-4 win over the Mounties to kind of get themselves within one game of going back-to-back as our MLL champs. then Thursday night, actually, the Mounties came back with 11-5 win to force a Game 5. So, man, it was an unbelievable series. It's back and forth, back and forth. But yeah, then just this Friday night, the Miners repeated as the Rocky Mountain Lacrosse League Junior A Championships out of Alberta with 11-6 win over the Mounties. So again, both these teams will be competing at Minto because of the host team. So congratulations to the Miners for once again winning.
Absolutely, congratulations to them. Now in Ontario, we had a barn burner, absolutely fantastic series. Something stronger than pomegranate juice it was. If we remember correctly, coming into this series, Orangeville hadn't lost a game this year. And when this thing began, Game 1, they were stunned. Burlington beat them 12-10 and took the 1-0 lead. They come back the next two games, winning Orangeville won 10-6 and 12-11 to have a 2-1 series lead. And it looked like, all things were right with the world again. But last Tuesday, Burlington came back and won a squeaker 8-7, which tied up that series. Came back and beat Orangeville in the Tony Rose Arena on Thursday evening. Beat them 10-8 with a big third period. 4 goals in the third for the victory, which led us to yesterday evening. And Burlington got off to a big start. They jumped out to a 3-0 lead. Never really looked back. They wound up winning this game 9-6 and winning the OJLL championship 4-2, and they will now be the Ontario representative at the Minto Cup. And as a name that keeps popping into our conversations, the goalie for Burlington is Deacon Knott. He made 55 saves in the victory yesterday. So Philadelphia, look out. You got a really good goalie coming up who is primed and ready. Because who did he beat? He beat Chris Riglieri in net for Orangeville, who was also, I believe, the MVP of the year over in the OJLL. So some pretty big names playing in this thing. And, yeah. It was quite the game. Intense right until the last 10 seconds, really. And, fantastic. Wouldn't have it any other way with Ontario Junior A. Man, there is some talented kids coming up, and they will be in the NLL sooner than you can think. And, the future is really, really bright for professional lacrosse, for the Arena Lacrosse League, for the guys who aren't catching on and everything else, because these kids are just fantastic. So moving up, we have the Ontario Series Lacrosse. And, of course, they had 2 of their 3 games of their best of 3 series. It is the Six Nations Rivermen going against the Oakville Rock. And Game 1 was at the track over in Oakville. And it was another barn burner of a night. And Oakville wound up pulling that one out 12-10 with the opportunity to finish the series last night over in Six Nations. However, the Rivermen found a way, and they came away with an 11-7 victory. Game 3 is Wednesday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern, at the Rock Athletic Center in Oakville. If you're anywhere in the neighborhood, you're going to want to make it to this game. I'm going to make it to this game. It should be a heck of an evening all around with some fine lacrosse, with, of course, a visit to the President's Cup on the line and the OSL Championship. Just before we head off into our PLL excursion, it is time to listen about Sherry's Ticket Town.
All right, guys, it's time to talk about Sherry's Tickets. Sherry'sTickets.com is easy to use and has no hidden fees. The price you see is the price you pay. Pay less and play more with Sherry'sTickets.com. Save even more by using the exclusive promo code EOP10. That's EOP10. Do not pay hidden fees and save 10%. Why use any other ticket reseller and get those hard-to-come-by tickets to the big game? If you need a more personal touch, give them a call at 610-494-5050. That's 610-494-5050. Sherry'sTickets.com also has great theater and concert tickets that are hard to get your hands on. Remember, do not overpay and save with the best at Sherry'sTickets.com. Save 10% using the promo code EOP10. That's EOP10. You'll thank us later. Sherry'sTickets.com.
All right. Sherry's Tickets. You're going to want to get it for a lot of the games that are upcoming. And we had a little bit of news before the week started. We had a trade. Atlas is trying to shake things up, and they traded Romar Dennis for Miles Jones and trying to restart the Miles Jones experience. And we'll see how that all plays out and how Romar Dennis made it with the Redwoods. It was an interesting week, guys. First of all, we had the over in Denver. You guys saw that Russell Wilson was in attendance for these games, eh?
Yeah,
pretty cool.
It was great to see.
Pretty
Yeah,
cool. Nice to see the crossovers. We had the Whip Snakes in chaos Friday night in the early game, with the Whip Snakes coming away with the hard-fought victory.
Yeah, 12-10. This game was actually tied 8-8 after 3 quarters. But Whip Snakes pull out the win, get back to 500. Now they're 4-4, tied with Chaos, and I believe they have the edge on goal differential when it comes to playoff seeding. But Will Manny, 2 goals, 2 assists. Zed Williams and Matt Rambo, 2 goals each. And a pair of 2-point goals from Roman Pugliese and Tucker Dordovic. Maybe the story of the game, Brendan Krebs getting the start in net for Whip Snakes, made 17 saves in the win. On the other side for Chaos, you had some unlikely output. Brian Minikis and Ty Kurtz, both with hat tricks. Dane Smith had 4 assists. Chris Cloutier had 2 goals. But Blaze Reardon, tough day at the office. Only 8 saves made in the loss. So.
Alrighty. Well, you can't have them all the time, right?
Nope.
But still, fine game. Absolutely crazy game. Now, this one was a little bit more lopsided with the Archers against Chrome. And you came up with an interesting stat, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Archers won 13-5, but a dubious distinction, I believe, for Chrome this year.
Yeah, so it was their 5th straight game scoring under 10 goals this year, and their 6th overall. So safe to say that they're missing Brendan Nickturn, at least to start. It's tough not to have your rookie of the year from last year, setting up, and I think that's been part of their trouble, has been finding someone kind of to replace him to play from X and help set up, because I think one of the big things that got him that rookie of the year award was just his assist total,
right?
Because it was at or near leading the league last year. So.
Well, they played. Well, Chrome played looks like a quarter and about almost a half. Solid lacrosse, tied 1-1, and then literally the wheels fell off. And when I look at and see goals by Tom Schreiber as a 2-point goal, that things are falling apart. Because that's odd. You don't see a lot of 2-point goals from Schreiber. Usually in about 10 feet from there, firing shots. But it just looks like they ran amok after that.
And again, it's interesting because you're mentioning faceoffs. I mean, Connor Farrell went 12 for 19 for Chrome on the faceoff dot. So they're getting those extra possessions, but they're just not doing anything with them.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? And it just continued along from there. Chrome never really regained any form, and the Archers just kind of, I guess at 10-3 they just kind of pulled the chute slow.
You're in cruise control from there, yeah.
And so the fourth quarter was just more or less, let's get through the next 12 and we'll move on from there. Atlas, the next day on Saturday, was hoping to show off the skills of Miles Jones. And, well, they're playing the Water Dogs, another really tough challenge. Doesn't get easier, does it? Right away, down 1-0 on a goal by Michael Sowers. And, well, Trevor Baptiste doing Trevor Baptiste-like things. He really was having a great day. He had a couple of goals in that first quarter. He was feeling it. And, unfortunately, the Water Dogs, they just went to town. They had a 6-goal first and never really looked back from there. Big stats of note was Walker had 6 points, 3 goals, 3 assists. Eric Law for Atlas had 3 goals and an assist. Trevor Baptiste, 23 of 28 at the faceoff dot. So he's, like I said, he's feeling it in this game. And boy, oh boy, San Diego must be just licking their chops in the NLL, going, that problem's solved.
Yep.
Because wow, Kincannon had a decent day, not a great day. 11 saves, 44%. Dylan Ward at 15 saves, 57.7% in the save percentage area. If we take a look at some of the players here, I'm looking at Atlas, and the big thing is the Jeff Teat factor. There isn't much of one right now. He had 2 points in this game, a goal and an assist, and that's it. He's your playmaker. Everything runs through him. It's just like New York in the NLL. Everything runs through him. If it's not running through him, then, of course, there's disruption, and they're not doing what they normally would be doing. Sometimes I think they rely a little bit too much on him, just like I feel New York does in the NLL, and I think it's coming to show here. There needs to be other outlets and other playmakers that step up. Eric Law had a great day, and Trevor Baptiste had a great day with 3 goals each. Xander Dixon with 2. Miles Jones had a goal. But I'm looking at the normal Romar Dennis production, and he's usually good for a 2-point blast per Atlas game. Just to, get things moving again. It opens up the field a lot more, too, that you can't just sit in tight. So I don't know if that was the best of moves, but it was something that had to be to shake it up, I guess. I don't know. Atlas woes continue. But I guess as long as Chrome is where Chrome is, they'll make the playoffs, just not the tournament.
Yeah, it could be as soon as 1 week, I think, because they're 2-6. Chrome is 1-7, and they've already played each other once with Atlas winning. So it's going to be a tough mountain for Chrome to climb. I think they're pretty much going to have to win their last 2 and hope Atlas loses their last 2 to have any chance.
Which is entirely possible, the way things have been going. Entirely possible. We'll look at the upcoming schedule in a minute. Hey, Dave, thank you for joining in with us, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate having you with us.
Good to see you.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, man. Nothing will surprise me at the moment. They've tried all kinds of things, and God. So we'll see. We had the Cannons and Redwoods in the last game of the weekend for the PLL, and of course we're going to get a barn burner for the last one. Redwoods outlast the Cannons in OT, 16-15. Back and forth game all game long. When we take a look at some of the stats in this game. Asher Nolting, of course, 5 points, 2 goals, 3 assists. Rob Pennell, 3 goals and 2 assists for the Redwoods. The face-off battle, man, TD Erlin. Again, pretty rosy over in Toronto. 27 of 30 in face-offs. That's astounding.
Jeez.
That's astounding. The only stat that they showed was Kyle Hartzell with a 3 of 5. So good for him. They're going to show the guy who went 0 for 20 4 or something like that, right? Goaltending wise, Kerr's team made 19 saves at a 55.9% save percentage, and Jack Kelly had 10 saves at a 43.5 save percentage. If we look at the standings coming in now because of all this, things get kind of interesting. Yeah, Archers 7-1, Cannons and Water Dogs tied at 5-3 each. A logjam for the 4th spot with Whipsnakes, Chaos, and Redwoods all with 4-4 records. Atlas with 2-6, and Chrome 1-7. Now the Atlas and Chrome, they met each other, didn't they?
Yeah, so Atlas won that matchup, and I just took a quick gander at the remaining schedules. Atlas has Cannons and Redwoods, and Chrome has Redwoods and Chaos to finish.
4 very easy wins for both teams. Yes, absolutely. I think we're going to be right where we are right now with those guys, unless something miraculous happens. I don't see it with what I've been seeing all year. But, all you got to do is get your toe into the playoffs, correct?
True.
Yep.
And we've seen crazier things happen. Just ask the Rochester Nighthawks of NLL fame in during the three-peat era. Nobody expected them to go anywhere, and sure enough, they're hoisting cups. So anything is possible. And when you have this level of talent, if the eureka in the moment happens sometime in the next couple of weeks and they can run it into the playoffs, we've seen stranger things, no?
So I just got to get into the dance.
Absolutely. So let's move along. We're going into playoffs in the WLA, and why don't we look at that first?
Yeah, I guess the finals are set now. Because we had a pair of games this week with the Nanaimo Langley series. Game, I guess it would have been 3, went on Tuesday night, and then Nanaimo picked up an 8-7 overtime win to force a game 4. A crazy game. Nanaimo was actually down by 3 heading into the third period and scored 3-0, outscored Langley 3-0 in that final frame to force overtime. Then, of course, in the WLA, it's not sudden death overtime. They play a straight, I believe it's 10 minutes of overtime, the winner after that period. So we had 3 goals in overtime with Colton Lindstone scoring the game winner with just over a minute left in overtime to force that 4th game. Then, of course, Langley on Thursday came away with a 9-6 win in game 4. Again, Curtis Dixon had a big game with 4 goals and 2 assists. Connor Robinson also had 6 points with the hat trick and 3 assists. It's just it was just a crazy game. I mean, that's that's up. I think we will get to the New West game here in a minute, but it should be a good final now with Langley and New West.
Yeah. So New West the night before Langley clinched. They completed a sweep of Victoria at Queens Park Arena. They won 10-8. They had a third quarter comeback of their own. But Mitch Jones ended up with a goal and 5 assists. Will Malcolm had 2 and 2. Kevin Crowley and Hayden Dixon each with 2 goals and an assist. Zach Higgins 41 saves in the win. So for Victoria we had Marshall King had a goal and 4 assists. Chris Wardle had 4 assists. Cole Pickup a pair of goals. And Tom Vason a pair of goals as well. So, future still looks bright. Maybe more than a rebuild, since we haven't been hearing that word from Victoria the last half of the season.
Yeah, well, they were
So,
winning. They weren't rebuilding all of a sudden.
yeah.
Isn't that strange?
So,
Funny how that comes about. But my Victoria jersey and my Atlas jersey are pretty much sitting beside each other in the cupboard.
kitty party.
It's been a tough summer,
Yeah.
guys. It's been a tough summer. Just a little bit of information there. We had Hayden Dixon and Zach Mans with the MVPs this year. Congratulations to both of them. Now, the interesting thing, they finally got this almost right. And I'll show you the MSL schedule in a minute. Here is the schedule for the final series for the WLA. Wednesday the 16th is Langley at New West. Friday 18th, New West at Langley. Sunday the 20th, Langley at New West. Tuesday the 22nd, New West at Langley. If necessary, August 24th, Langley at New West. Saturday the 26th, New West at Langley. And the 29th, if a Game 7 is needed, Langley at New West. Now, if I put across the MSL schedule, and you will see that they are on opposite days. So somebody is doing something right here. Thank you. Game 7, where they're both on the same night, if we have a Game 7 in both series. But August 15th for Game 1 is Peterborough over Six Nations. The 17th is Game 2 over in Peterborough. Game 3 back to Six Nations on the 21st. The 23rd back to Peterborough. If necessary, they go to Iroquois Lacrosse Arena, Six Nations on the 25th. Back to Peterborough for the Game 7 on it says the 7th, but it is the 27th. And Game 7, if necessary, like I just stated, is August 29th. And you know that both of them are going to a 7th game. So you'll be at one game with your phone watching the other game.
Like, yeah, I said almost got it right, Gary.
Almost. After an entire series of teams playing in MSL at the same time. It's refreshing to see that most of these games are. Hey, there's Travis. Welcome,
Hey.
sir.
All right, Travis.
Glad
Hope
to
you
have you
enjoyed the
aboard.
World Juniors there, buddy.
Great to have you along with us, Travis.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, if we take a look at some of the the MSL, now that I have that up here. Of course, the final series is set with Six Nations and with Peterborough. Peterborough walked through their series 4-0 over Brooklyn. A couple of games were kind of close, but the last few weren't very. I think they were making an emphatic statement to Six Nations saying, we're here. We are still the defending champions. Six Nations, the interesting one with them was last Sunday evening. I was in Peterborough for that game. And, of course, everybody checking scores and on the scoreboard, everything going on. And lo and behold, Coburg stunned, absolutely stunned Six Nations with a 9-8 victory. And that made the series 2-1. Now, that was just previous to the Game 2 in which they lost 7-5 to Six Nations. And with the exception of Sundown with a couple of goals in the last couple of minutes, that thing was neck and neck all night long. And Orleman was spectacular. Six Nations came back from that and really, they made an emphatic mark. They beat in the next game, in Game 4, they beat Coburg 14-6, jumping out to a 7-1 first period lead and then coasting from there. And having an 11-3 victory for the clinching game. So they made their mark also, and they also sent a message over to Peterborough going, yeah, one blip, don't worry about it. So this should be an absolute barn burner that, again, you're looking at on the 15th, just a couple of days away, is going to be an absolute spectacular firepower kind of series with some of the top names in lacrosse today. And by the time that we get going with the Mann Cup, regardless who it is of these 4 teams, which 2, this is going to be something to behold this year, because every one of these teams have built their teams immaculately and immensely. So it's going to be a huge time. And out in the West, it is. So the West Coast is going to be treated to some absolutely spectacular lacrosse.
Oh yeah, don't think it's not lost on those BC teams that they want to win on home floor for Mann Cup.
Now, this part of our show has been brought to you by Philly Sports Trips.
All right, guys, if you're a Philly sports fan and you want to travel with your favorite team, then travel with the best. Go to phillysportstrips.com. They have self-travel packages and full travel packages available with round-trip flights from the Philadelphia airport. Packages include direct flights, 4-night stays, all-inclusive tailgate parties, lower-level group tickets. Whatever you want, you got it with phillysportstrips.com. If you want to travel to an upcoming Phillies game, make sure you check out Philly Sports Trips. And do not forget, Philly Sports Trips has all the away trips for the Eagles' upcoming 2023 season. Jump on it now, because you do not want to lose out on all these great opportunities. Go to phillysportstrips.com.
Absolutely. Some great deals in there. I had to look at that site, and some absolutely fantastic things down the pipe there. So if you're interested in doing Eagles, interested in doing Phillies, it's crunch time now for the Phillies, so you're going to want to catch some of these games. And Eagles, anytime is a good time to catch an Eagles game. So give them a shout, give them a look, and get on the board with them. Eduardo's got a question. Any thoughts about the PL locations, times, and heat concerns? Me personally in Toronto don't have many concerns about the heat. So kidding. It really never came to play in my mind, really. Some of the locations, they are going to be doing the playoffs in the East Coast, right? So that will alleviate some of the problems and some of the heat issues. I don't see a problem. I think that was taken into account when they made their locations, that you didn't want it in the dog days of summer to be somewhere where it's just sweltering at 107 degrees. So to have a game in Arizona doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Guys, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say they're definitely taking that into account. I mean, I know there's still a lot to be done. There's a lot of hotbeds screaming that, hey, we haven't gotten you guys to come around yet, but I think in due time, as the league grows, we'll see more locations.
Canada, man.
Well,
I was going to say the same thing. I'd like to see some more games up in Canada, really. We're really not going to have much of that concern. But
yeah, because next week they're in Seattle, not really known for their astounding desert heat. And then the week after that, Salt Lake City, Utah. Again, not really notorious for that Arizona heat wave. How many cactuses over in
and by adding more locations, you can potentially alleviate that problem. Because you're
definitely. And your quarterfinals are in Boston again, and then Long Island for the semifinals, Philadelphia for the finals. So your East Coast for all of that. So I don't think that the heat is going to be an issue. Maybe some of the some rain would be an issue in some of these places. Whether that affects things, carrying around lightning rods doesn't really help in a lightning storm. So
right,
we'll see how that plays. But don't forget, they also had one weekend in Dallas where they were indoors. Right?
Yeah.
So problem solved.
Eduardo made an interesting observation too. We're going to get onto the NLL soon. But speaking of the Heat, San Diego being the only tropical place in the NLL seems to be drawing a high percentage of top free agents. If Saskatchewan didn't have Keenan, what's our draw? Is getting worrisome? I don't think so. I think Keenan still has a few tricks up his sleeve come draft time, and he has some great draft picks ahead of him. Plus, he already had a pretty good trade session before the free agents came out. So, and before all the main signings. So I think his team is sitting pretty good. And Eduardo, for his point, of course, it's 107 in Jacksonville. So let's take that off of my list of places where I want to go right now. San Diego was hot enough for me for those couple of weeks of Worlds. Thanks. I'm just starting to come back to my regular color. Burnt. When I thought they were serving breakfast, and it's me. It's hot here, man. So yeah. So I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue. Like I said, I think they took that into account before doing any of the scheduling. As they go around, if they're going into new places, I'm pretty sure that they would put the Western locations a little bit earlier into the summer and start moving eastward bound again by the time the playoffs roll around, even if they change locales for these places for the playoffs, which would be nice. And again, I'd like to see them up in Canada too. I do remember the one PLL weekend up in Hamilton a couple of years ago, and still it was a warm day over at Tim Hortons Field, and great day had by all. Great days because of Saturday and Sunday. This was before expansion, so you had only 3 of the games, right? So
Sure.
It was a good time, a lot of fun, and everybody enjoyed it. And the weather cooperated, and again, summer, warm, field, outdoor. But anyways, let's move on to the NLL. We had a lot of news this week, yeah. Just like the week before, only the one main question, it finally got answered, and that was where is Calgary getting their coach from? Well, Josh Anderson makes his long-awaited return back to Calgary, this time as the head coach. And, of course, I had heard now that Troy Cordingley and Phil Sanderson are coming to Calgary with him to be his assistant coaches. That is going to be one heck of a coaching staff.
Yeah, I can't disagree there. It's a lot of pedigree, a lot of championship experience. So, yeah, go ahead, Sean.
Especially when you lose someone like Miloski.
Yeah, to replace him with a Josh Sanderson, that's a pretty good comparison in there. And of course, right away things started clicking over in Calgary. Nice shirt there, Sean.
I was gonna say, which one, the Canada one or the Brampton?
I can hook you up too, Dave. Don't worry, I can hook you up as well. Don't worry. 82 over in Delco. It's still a warm day. It's still dog days of summer, guys. Enjoy it, because I don't know about where you're at, but I know winter is long over here. So I will take all the warm weather they want to throw at us. Anyways, Derek Lloyd, he signed with Calgary as well this week, and we had a trade, and Robert Hudson is going to the Roughnecks from Georgia, and in return, the Swarm receive 2023 30th overall pick and a 2025 second round pick. So that just bolsters up defense a little bit more on an already decent defense. So,
yeah.
Now, did we all hear a little bit of rumblings, just a little musings from Christian Del Bianco? Just curious. I don't know if he's just trying to stir the pot a little bit, or talking about wanting to go somewhere or whatever. But barring him working in, I don't know, Europe, I don't think that Calgary would be looking to get rid of him anytime soon. They would try and lock him up to the first 112-year NLL contract.
Yeah, barring a miracle, they're not letting him go anywhere.
Yeah, I can't see it myself. So, stranger things have happened, yes, but I just don't see it happening. But anything's possible. Stay tuned. We're there like we're there with all the signings, up to the minute, up to the point, and right down to the nitty gritty of everything. There was a trade over with Panther City. They got Brent Mitchell, and in return, Albany received a 2025 second round pick. Again, Albany trying to shore up their defense. They've been busy, but I think that they still have a lot of a lot of things in the works to make it. Plus, with guys healthy, this should be an interesting little Albany team, don't you think, Mike?
Yeah, I would think so. They did kind of suffer a couple of big losses that I think you'll get to in a little bit with free agents signing elsewhere. So, but I guess the flip side of that is that they will definitely be a younger unit when they return in the fall. So,
It's the one you're wearing, Shawn.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Gary, for that one. 'Cause that's all Gary's doing.
Dave, I might be able to hook you up. DM me at some point. Anyways, moving right along. Here's some interesting stuff in Vegas. First of all, we'll start off with Jake Saunders, who signed over with the Desert Dogs. A little bit bigger of a move there was Adrian Sorichetti has now joined the Las Vegas Desert Dogs as well. And the one that surprised me a little bit, I have to admit I shook my head yesterday when I saw this, was Kyle Rubish going to San Diego on a 2-year deal. Didn't Rube say he wanted to get closer to home?
Yeah, that's what kind of surprised me too, because I thought we were all figured he was going to want to go closer to home in the East. But
Buffalo or Toronto was what was on my agenda here in my mind. And since he lives in Ontario, Toronto's a really close place to Ontario, being in it. Vegas is a little far, like the other end of the other country.
that's San Diego.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
It is San Diego, and there are slots available now because, they lost a few. But still an all-star team. Still have Doby, still have Dixon, still have all the rest of that, Westberg and the rest of the crew there. It could be interesting. I think he'll fit in really nicely over there. Him and Brody on the back. That's a bruising kind of defense if I ever heard of it.
Yep.
Tall defense too. Very big. You know what I mean? So
yeah, they got a few big guys like that. Go
they do.
Like,
It's
Rick, yeah.
walking apart going there.
so.
Yeah, it's no walking apart going into San Diego before. Now, even more so. Continuing along, we go into Albany, and Jackson Reed has signed with the re-signed with the Firewolves. Nice young pick, nice addition last year, and I think he's going to be able, once we have all these other guys back, he's going to be able to make his mark. So he should be able to hang on with the roster and have a really good season there. So, decent move by Glenn Clark. In Buffalo, we had a few big signings. First of all, Adam Bombury is back on a 1-year deal. Kyle Buchanan is coming back on a 1-year deal. And the one we were waiting for, yes, sir, Matt Vince is coming back. If I read it right, I thought it said a 2-year deal, but that
2-year deal is what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of surprised me. I figured it'd be a 1-year deal, and he'd go 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, just to see how he feels. But 2 years, that takes all the questions out of it. That'll keep Devlin Shanahan as the backup, still learning from his mentor of Matt Vince. I expect actually to see Devlin in a lot more games this year, and Matt more of a coaching role with him, as though he's not already doing it in practices and everything. But I expect to see him to get just a little bit more game action, where it's not a blowout one way or the other, to have some meaningful games under his belt.
Yep.
Yeah.
He is the future, right?
Well, I would hope so, because we already had that conversation last week where, there's going to be a bunch of other Buffalo Bandit players who may not get to see a whole lot of playing time.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, with everybody coming back,
almost everyone. I mean,
Yeah, pretty much everyone.
Except
the only one that I really
Ethan O'Connor, I think, is the only one who's
he's the next one up on the list.
Free
Yeah, he signed 2 years on with Rochester. He's not going very far because he works in the Buffalo area. So
Yeah,
and everyone else they needed to sign, they've signed so far.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about goaltending. We've seen what happens to teams when they don't have a backup plan. When, like for instance, in this case, when Vince retires, if you don't have a backup plan, you're scrambling trying to find whoever you can. actually at least have a succession plan in goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly. In fact, you're living it firsthand with Saskatchewan doing the revolving door of goaltenders for the last couple of years, trying to find the right guy to fit in with the team, and all the while waiting for Lane Rushka to develop enough that he can stay on at the NLL level. So they did it a little bit differently here, having Vince there as long as he can stay healthy, and that was a bit of a question mark at the beginning of last year. And boy, did he shut up the critics in a hurry there. But by no means did Buffalo have an easy time of it last year. They earned every inch that they had to in order to win that championship. So through adversity, they're able to do it as well. So we'll see. But everybody's a year older now too. So
Yep,
if we thought that they were a little long in the tooth last year, they're another step towards the press box and the coaching ranks for most of them. So
Yep.
We'll see. We'll see if they can repeat the magic. They have the guys, and they have they definitely have the the Chaos Bandits, right? They work very well together. So, continuing with Rochester, Curtis Manchich is over to Rochester now, and he signed a 2-year deal at Albany, right? It hurts Albany a little bit.
I think he had. I think he was already on Rochester near the end of last
Near
season.
the end of last year, yeah. Because I think he got into one game in Albany. I didn't get into any games in Rochester. So I guess this is his year to try and dude, he had a great summer.
Solidify a spot. So yeah.
Yeah, no, he had a great summer with MSL. So he was part of that young additions over with Coburg. So keeping going with that, Parker Pfeiffer, he signed a 2-year contract to re-signed to stay on with Rochester. Another one who came on late in the year, played Arena Lacrosse League, and was a big part of the Arena Lacrosse League being such a success. Him, Pilcher, a bunch of the other guys were just fantastic players. And if he stays up with Rochester, he will be a real asset. I know he made a splash when he got into the NLL, so that will certainly help. Joe Post has also signed a 2-year contract with Rochester. He's re-signed, and we'll see.
That'll make things interesting. Him and Connor Farrell fighting out for face-offs.
Yeah,
potentially.
Well, keep Connor Farrell honest for sure. He won't be able to take a game off because you have him just sitting waiting in the wings, right?
True.
exactly. Yeah.
Connor Farrell has had injury problems, so if he does get injured, there is a plan B, which is big. So, and from time to time, we talked about it last year. One of the things missing with Rochester was possessions. They had transition, they had their scoring. Sometimes they were just lacking in possession, and in their downfall in that 5-game slide, that really took them out of contention and had them treading water to get in. It was, again, a lot of if they had the same gumption and possession amount that they had early in the year, things would have been a little bit different, I think. And then, of course, when one thing goes wrong, then the people start gripping sticks, and then it leads to a whole lot of unnecessary other issues. So if they can sure up that position right there, I think they're laughing. Because it wasn't wholesale changes that needed to happen. Tinkering with this and tinkering with that. And between O'Toole and Hazen, I'm sure that they're able to right the ship and make sure that they're sitting on the top end too. This is going to be one hell of an Eastern division. Nobody can afford to trip out of the gate. Because if you do, you're going to be looking up through most of the year. Because the rest of them are just going to be like... just like one of a prize racehorse, and off they go.
I was going to say all divisions, even the West, is going to be.
Well, yeah, it's funny because
heavily contested.
We've always said best players in the world. Well, I truly believe it. The best players in the world are in this league, and it's showing more and more how there are no real easy victories. There are none.
Yeah. Not at all. Well, remember a few years ago, we had an East Division where I think the winning team was 10-8, and the last place team was 8-10.
Yep.
Yeah.
The
That
parity
division.
has been
Granted,
spectacular.
it was only 5 teams in the division at the time, but
Mhm.
that's how much parity there was. So
Now, if we get our marketing straight and get the people in and get the people watching, you know, if TSN can figure out their problems there, that we can get all the games again. Yeah, for another time. It's frustrating, and it's funny because Evan Schemenauer made a point of that earlier in the week, and it got me looking. And of course, yeah. So what normally came with the package now is a separate fee. Thanks. So we keep working towards getting it there. So just another trip in a road because of course all the games are on Plus, and then of course the game of the week is on the regular network. Well, if you're wanting to catch the other games or you're trying to get people to catch the other games, you better have your subscription because it's not as easy anymore to show it. We're back to that. So let's hope that we have a secondary plan before the season comes up somehow, some way. Anyways, continuing along, another ALL star is re-signed with Rochester, and that's Penn Istrat, who also had a spectacular summer in Brampton, and really shows that he can play with the big boys. And he is ready, willing, and able to make a splash with the Nighthawks. So another one who came in late, pickup due to injuries. So Rochester's looking pretty good, guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the Molosky effect. And, of course, 2 big signings. The first one, of course, is one we talked about last year that we thought he was going there, and that was Kevin Crowley. But, of course, until the old regime is gone and the new one came in, and here you have it. Kevin Crowley is now with the Vancouver Warriors, and that's huge because he's not that old and can still add quite a bit to the offense, let alone be the mentor to a number of the young guys coming up.
I think so, and I know he's retired from international play. I'm not sure.
He's got his school, right? So he has delved in the Philadelphia area completely into that, and also into the BC area. So he's doing a lot of developmental now. So I don't think he has time for the other stuff. So but he's doing fantastic.
I mean that if by not having that extra wear and tear on the body, he might be able to, play into his late 30s and even his 40s.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So,
sure.
and I mean, being 125 points away from what he'd be the 14th player with 1,000 points career or all time. So he could be a record he's on.
975 points, 147 games. Yeah, pretty spectacular. But Vancouver didn't stop there. John Lintz. This is big. He's also there to shore up the defense of already a strong defense now. I didn't expect to see him leave Colorado. You?
No, you got Lintz and Bowering in that back end.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so again, Vancouver is showing that it is possible with the right people at the right places that you can really put together on a rebuild a strong team quickly.
They're going to be a team to watch in the West. They really are.
Well, we talked about it just kind of tongue-in-cheek as, we could be talking a worst to first scenario, but now jumping the gun a little bit, there are some spectacular teams in the West. Calgary was an eyelash away from going to the finals. You had Colorado, who's been to the finals twice, 1 win, 1 loss. You have the Desert Dogs and Panther City, who are up-and-comers. There's all kinds of...
Saskatchewan's improved.
Saskatchewan also, and also with the draft picks to see what the evil genius does there.
Yep, and don't forget San Diego too.
Yeah,
they were the division winners, and they probably have the same hunger just for a finals appearance that Buffalo's had for a championship until.
Well, yeah, they were stunned.
Spring, so.
They were stunned in their playoff round when they got eliminated, and I think that didn't sit well. And it doesn't sit well.
Not. So,
yeah. So we'll see how that all plays out. But man, it's going to be something to see. Now, speaking about Colorado, Jalen Chester re-signed with them. Also, Owen Down has signed with them as well. So, a couple of players into the mix there. The big news out of Saskatchewan is Lane Ruska has signed a 1-year deal. So I think that puts to rest who's going to be the starter. Because I think he made a case for himself at the end of last year that he deserves at least to have the start.
Well, you have Frank Chiliano, though, with that trade. I think you're going to see Frank probably starting most of those games, but he's got to at least be the backup. I think you can't put Rushka on the practice roster again. They're going to have to deal. They're going to have to do something with Penny and Bouquet because they're still in contract, whether it's releasing them. I can't see either one of those guys going on a practice roster just because they're veterans. But I don't see any other way with Rushka. He's proven that he's at least ready to be a backup, if not a starter.
Well, do you think it's going to be like the Buffalo situation then? Where Skiggs is going to be the one to mentor Ruska along the way.
100%.
One of his reasons for being, which will give Ruska those starts that he needs in games that aren't blowouts.
Yeah.
Because that's the stuff he needs. To come in a game that's 14-4, there's no pressure on anywhere, either way, winning or losing. But to come in a game and the game is either you started the game or it's a 9-7 game, that's a whole different animal, right? That's the kind of training that's needed if he's going to survive in the NLL on a regular basis. So we'll see. He's got a fair amount of experience now. Also with the Arena Lacrosse League, he had a good summer in the MSL. Kind of jaunted back and forth. Had some starts with Coburg. Now, you have an up-and-coming team there, so he got a chance to see a lot of shots. That was the benefit for being a goalie there. So we'll see. But that's going to a big signing. I think that solidifies down the road what's going to be happening there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's no doubt he's the future in that goal.
Right. Now, San Diego made a couple of signings. They got Liam Phillips and Dallas Wade. To a little more defensive power and transition. Both on 2-year deals. So the rich get richer. It's going to be an interesting camp, man. Last year we were talking about it, and there's teams that have 40 players that are coming into camp, and 35 of them are NLL caliber.
Yeah.
So once the goaltending situation catches up, I don't think there's going to be any other choice but to expand because these players need a place to play. You can't just lose them. So, and now somebody else made a big point about this, and it was now the players are able to make a living out of this thing, whether it's between PLL, NLL, endorsements, and a few other things, and they're making a living, and they're doing this 100% of the time. Now you're seeing the benefits of some of the greatest players in the world, but not just one or two, not just the natural God-given talent ones. The guys who are able to do this 7 days a week and do nothing but play lacrosse, and they're starting to come up the ranks. So we're going to see more and more of that as time goes on because there's more and more opportunities now than was ever before.
Probably another project, another reason to see you're seeing guys now trying to do both box and field is because now you can see if you can learn both games, you can actually make a living out of this versus just if you're just going to do field, you're going to have to find something else to do as well. Or if you're just going to do box, you got to find another career as well.
Well, sure. When you got guys in Toronto who are running the track and the programs and all the rest of that, you have guys working for the Hill Academy as coaches and teachers. There's a number of them that are still in the game as they're doing it. In the U.S., working with Marichek School and with other schools. So there's more of these prep school ideas happening, and a lot of these guys are catching on with them, so they are still in the game, and it makes it a lot easier for them to get away for the games. So it's a little different than years past, or they'd have to miss a game because they couldn't get time off with the fire department or with the police department or wherever they're working. So unless they were personal trainers or something like that. So the whole realm and aspect and psyche has changed as it's evolved. So it's definitely heading in the right direction. So we'll see. But the winners, of course, is us. Because, again, we're watching the best players in the world at all times. Let's jump over to New York. They made a couple of big splashes also. Damon Edwards is re-signed over there for 1 year. Matt Anderson has signed a 2-year contract with them. And the biggie this week is Mitch Wild signing a 3-year contract with New York. You guys think of the signings in New York?
That Wild one's huge.
Yeah, has Rich Lisk done
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, and I don't know, did we mention last week? John LaFontaine also signed with the Riptide as well. So
right. Yeah, that was. All right, we got a new listener. Hey, welcome to the show, Zach.
Welcome.
Pleasure to have you with us. Hopefully, you gain a lot of knowledge and insight out of this. But yeah, man, like New York, Lisk is, since he took over, he has done nothing but try and build continuously, and he's made some big splashes, some big trades over the way. A few ones that are scratching our heads, but you know what? Looking at how they turned out, he seems to have the inside edge and knowing what's what. Mitch Wild is huge, and to have him for the next 3 years, and now you have him, you have T, you have O'Connor. You've got a big nucleus in there now of firepower. With Dunkerley and Orleman as your goalies, I think you're shoring up the back, and it looks like whatever was ailing Orleman seems to have gone away because he had a pretty good finals playing for Coburg against that juggernaut Six Nations team. So if he can blank them, he can blank just about anybody. So that's some interesting things because now you don't have any of the bottom of the rung teams there. Albany's gotten stronger. New York's gotten stronger. Well, the East, there's only so many wins that can happen, right? So do we see a lot, again, from a couple of years ago, Mike? 10-8, 8-10? Is that what we're going to see?
I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked. I think, I think we're definitely going to see Georgia come out of the
11-7
gate
is a
better.
successful year.
Well, yeah, we're going to see Georgia come out of the gate better than they did last year.
That's another one too, right? And Dobson isn't in his rookie year, and he's the guy.
Yeah.
We also got Craig Wendy. We haven't seen him land anywhere yet, have we?
We haven't yet, and
No,
the other big UFA that we haven't seen anything about yet, Shane Jackson.
Yep. Yeah, there were rumblings about Toronto just because he's good friends with Mark Matthews. That would be interesting.
Definitely. Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe Tavares has been in his ear also. Since he's playing on Six Nations, and see him maybe in Buffalo. Very possible.
That'd be.
Or he hangs out with the Thompson brothers and 3 Thompson brothers and continues his career over in Georgia. They're all very bright moves. Every one of them is a winner move for him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yep.
So whoever can come up with a bigger contract and whatever he can gain is whatever they can pay him. So on and off the books, So Toronto, speaking of them, made a big splash again. The youth has been signed. First off, we have Sheldon Burns coming back on a 1-year contract. But Marley Angus, who made a couple of appearances in the lineup, played a lot of Arena Lacrosse League this past year, is on a 2-year contract. And guys, this is the future coming in. He had a good MSL season too. Tyler Hendricks had a great MSL season this past summer, and in return earned a 1-year contract. And another one who has been in and out of the lineup, but is looking to make a dent and be able to stay. And the backup to the backup, Sam Haynes, who is still developing, still a junior, on a 1-year deal, and having Rose and Holochuk in front of him. Some pretty good guys to keep your training going. So that covers a good chunk of the signings. This part of the program, I just want to remind everybody, has been brought to you by David R. Cherry. and Associates.
All right, guys, let's talk about Cherry Law Firm. If you get hurt at work in a motor vehicle accident, personal injury, or affected by criminal law, you got to call David R. Cherry of the Cherry Firm. Call 610-565-0300 or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. Let David R. Cherry fight for your rights. Again, that number is 610-565-0300. That's 610-565-0300 or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. Let David R. Cherry fight for your right.
Handy information to have.
Definitely.
Especially if you're traveling around. Guys like Shawn and Eduardo.
Always have that lawyer on speed dial.
Good to have a lawyer in your back pocket there, just in case. Mike with a cruise, God knows you're going through international areas. That number handy. Who knows? You might need something very, very quickly. On the fly, shall we say?
Right, very well.
But yeah, I still think that we're not done yet. That was the majority of the signings for the last couple of weeks, and pretty much everybody is moving around and doing all kinds of things. But I still think that we're in the midst of a blockbuster somewhere to shake everything up. I obviously don't think that we're going to see the amount of signings that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, but I definitely think that something is brewing somewhere, because I don't think everything is just stand pat and wait for the draft in September.
Yeah, there's a few guys still out there, and I mean, at least we're starting to see how teams are starting to shape out.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, and coaching staffs are set, so now we know who, where, and what. So that's another interesting thing. But yeah, how many times we talked about they need a goalie and Wendy's sitting out there? So interesting to see where he's going to wind up. But that also is starting to shore itself up too. Because I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say who's left that needs a goaltender.
Yeah, I don't know any teams that are dire for a goaltender right now. Not unless somebody gets hurt.
Because you're really looking at a backup role for Wendy anywhere.
But I think that's why he left Georgia, right? Because he had
Yeah.
a backup role with Georgia, and I don't think that would have gone away if he stayed. But I don't know. Works in a family business too as a mechanic, so it's not like he needed to be closer to home. So be interesting to see where he winds up and a number of other guys. But I say the list is starting to dwindle, and Any thoughts on who would be the ones to maybe pull a cord on a trade? Because the teams that are the strongest, ironically, also have the really good draft picks too, for some strange reason.
Yeah, it's not the first time that we've seen that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've talked before, like I don't know, it's like Saskatchewan going to look for maybe a veteran in the back end for defense, just because they did lose like the Rubishes and the Dilks.
Let alone
but then again,
four, right? So
and Corbeil, yeah. So I mean, maybe there, but even then, like we discussed before, maybe some of those guys are maturing more often. You do have Chiliano in goal, who could maybe direct traffic a little bit as a veteran goaltender. So maybe they aren't looking for more veteran, but maybe they are. I mean, there's maybe a few guys still out there to look at.
They're pretty young already, so I'm thinking that with those draft picks that they've got, this would be the perfect opportunity to, for a team like maybe Toronto who doesn't have any draft picks. I keep trading them away, but, maybe when there's an influx of players, that maybe they look at it and go, yeah, okay, here, and we'll take this.
But you also know Keenan, how he loves his draft picks. Like he likes to stockpile them. He'll find diamonds in the rough through them. So,
yeah. Georgia tends to stockpile draft picks as well. Though they might be kind of maybe hitting a cycle where they need to kind of unload some for players. But I mean, they could be looking for someone. I would think Philly's not done trying to shore up their defense. Maybe Panther City could say the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
Panthers has been
Vegas.
kind of quiet lately.
Yeah,
So
they're kind of quiet, but they've made a few moves already and a few big re-signs. So, might be a spot for Wendy too,
Possibly.
yeah.
because nowhere is it etched in stone the goaltending there. So,
Yeah, you don't think Damude's job is safe in Panther City?
maybe.
Yeah, strongly last year, but
I'd say, yeah. I mean, I'd say he's. I'd say he's pretty solidified. Um, you know, there's someone else going after the services in McLeod.
Right.
Right now, he's the backup.
Mm-hmm.
So,
You know,
I mean, I could
I think
possibly
this
see
is
Wendy
kinda-
going there, just because, like you mentioned with Damude, he's had that one good year. You just don't know where he might have the possibility of being the starter if
because he
things
played
go.
hardly at all in the summer. Again, he played a little bit, and Hutchcraft took over all the playing in Brooklyn, so he really didn't get a chance to do much over the summer either. So I'm not really sure where he sits in all of this, but again, I think it's more of you're going to see movement, and it's waiting till the season starts, of course, if there's an injury. God forbid there's an injury, but if there is one, then you're going to start to see all the pieces that have to go in.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you have a couple of guys who are outside looking in, like Wendy and stuff like that, who should be playing in the NLL.
Unfortunately for him, that may be it, where he may just have to wait around until there's unfortunately an injury and the team's desperate.
Yeah, because I don't think he's going to want to sign on somewhere as a practice goalie. I don't think that makes any sense.
no, definitely not.
So we might see him in the Arena Lacrosse League just to stay sharp, because that's not very far from him. He's out in Kitchener. He played with the Monarchs before he got in the NLL, so they're just coming off a championship. So who knows? Maybe he winds up there. Maybe if Deacon Knott is going to wind up in Philadelphia, maybe he goes to Oshawa and plays for the Outlaws of the Arena Lacrosse too. We'll see. But there's a lot of up and coming guys there too to look at. That's for the first time ever, there is almost like an AHL of hockey, where there are guys ready, willing, able, in shape, and up to speed to step in if a team needs it, or if they want to sign on another player. So we've seen it. I think the number is at about 25 that have jumped from ALL to NLL, and that should be a lot bigger in the near future because of just how good the programming is, both West and East. They should be into expansion soon too, because it is getting bigger and bigger. And as Michelle told us a couple of weeks ago, with Paul, he bypasses the boards, so he doesn't have to go through BC Lacrosse, doesn't have to go through the OLA here in Ontario. So he can just do his thing, which is huge, as we're finding out.
Yeah.
Eliminate red tape. That's big.
Right.
But we have some interesting stuff coming up over the next couple of weeks, because we're in the nitty gritty of playoffs, both WLA and MSL. PLL is starting to head to the final stretch and into their playoffs. So this is going to be some interesting stuff for us to all keep moving at, and you don't want to miss a thing. Still more signings and more deals to come. So stick with us, and you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Thread. You can find us on YouTube as well. You can find us pretty much anywhere near TikTok too, on our individual pages. We'll all do we'll do the Akurzy dance for TikTok. And we'll do it in this form though. Be interesting. But you can also catch everything on YouTube. You can catch our archive library on YouTube as well as stay tuned. More of the retro games I mentioned at the beginning of the show are starting to come up as I'm able to get them converted from old VHS tapes and get them up on there. I will. Should be a couple of months to go up there now that I'm into a regular routine with this. So It just takes a little bit to get it done. And then, some of the mill games that you haven't seen ever or haven't seen in 40 years will be up there, and see the path that has been taken to get to where we are now. As Darius Kilgore liked to say, the Wild West of lacrosse. The equipment was different. The mental toughness was different. The psyche was different. And my God, some of the plays. And also a lot of the coaches that you're watching now, watch them in their heyday. The Tavareses, Keenans, guys like that, and see where they all came from and where it all started from. So that's a lot of fun in doing these things. The latest one that I have up there is the Toronto Rock and Pittsburgh Crossfire from 2000. It was the 1 year that Pittsburgh was there, coming from Baltimore and next heading off to Washington. And it had the Gate brothers on there. Neil Doddridge is on there. Joey Hiltz was on there. Pretty amazing team. Very modest. I think they finished 8-8. And Toronto was in their heyday of just that was the year that Caleb Tolt scored the goal. Last goal at Maple Leaf Gardens to win a championship with 1 second left. So great game to watch. It is up there now. There's old mill games from Buffalo. I believe their championship from 94 is up there. So more coming. So stick with us and be back 3, 4, 5 times a day, because again, the news is always changing and we have our fingers on the pulse of the situation. Mike, any final words?
I'm looking forward to the WLA finals for sure, and the MSL finals. See who's going to play for the Mann Cup, because all these teams are pretty much championship or bust. So
absolutely. That was the mantra from the beginning, and they're all there. And let's see what happens, because there's going to be fights to the finish. Shawn, any last words?
No, same with Mike. I'm really looking forward to this WLA final. I think it's going to be a really good one. Going to be a little bit of a quieter week, thankfully, next week. So it'll be a lot of fun.
You'll be heading back up to Moose Jaw, I take it?
I am, yep.
The wagon will be packed back up again.
It will be, yeah. Definitely
plan
for a
European vacation in Vegas, all these the Chevy Chase things. And but yeah,
well, I'll like we talked about before. This IIJL was definitely worth it this week. It was a ton of fun. A lot of great lacrosse.
Absolutely, and you did a fantastic job. So thank you very much.
Yep.
It's me that's going to be in the car coming up because it's going to be Six Nations one night, Peterborough the next night, Six Nations west, east, west. Yeah. You can almost hear the banjo music going.
You do traveling too, Harry. So
yeah. You can catch me on the 401 somewhere near you at some point. Anyways, that should go. Don't forget to mention the interviews. Yes, they're coming up in the next month. We have a number of players that Eduardo has helped facilitate with us. Hammer, Tony, and Aaron. Yes. So that's some more to look forward to as well. And don't forget to catch our field reporter, Eduardo and Pat, with their reports on some of the PLL games as well. So for Muffler Mike over in Connecticut, for Shawn Slaght, who is in Saskatoon this week, I'm Gary Groob in Toronto. Thanking you again for coming aboard and sticking with us week after week. Remember, the next couple of weeks, we are still at 11 a.m. on Sundays. And then come the fall, we are back to our slot of 9 p.m. So until next week, keep your stick in your hands. Take care, and we will see you again next Sunday.